Look, we need to talk about the math. Not the Wall Street math where everyone gets a bonus while you go broke. I'm talking about the pharmacy counter math. The kind of math where you show up to pick up a life-saving inhaler and the guy behind the glass tells you it's $400. $400 for a piece of plastic and some medicine that costs pennies to make in a factory in Europe. For 30 years, we've been told the same story. Politicians on both sides, let's be real, stood behind those wooden podiums, adjusted their silk ties, and promised you. They promised affordable health care. They gave us plans. They gave us frameworks. They gave us 2,000-page bills that nobody read. And at the end of every single year, the prices went up, always, like clockwork. Why? Because the United States was the world's piggy bank. We are 4% of the global population, just 4%, yet we were providing 75% of the global profits for pharmaceutical companies. Think about that. You, me, your neighbor, we were subsidizing the healthcare of the entire planet. Germany, Japan, Canada, they were all enjoying cheap drugs because you were overpaying. It was a global shakedown. And the elites in DC, they didn't just let it happen. They presided over it. They took the lobbyist checks, went to the cocktail parties, and told you it's complicated. Markets are complex. Bull. It wasn't complex. It was a heist. A 30-year heist that just hit a brick wall. Starting tonight, that wall has a name, TrumpRx.gov. And if you think this is just another government website with a logo and a search bar, you're missing the point. This isn't a policy update. This is a decapitation strike against the big pharma status quo. We're talking about prices dropping not by 10%, not by 20%, but by 800%. How? Not through polite requests, not through bipartisan committees. He did it by using the one thing big pharma fears more than God himself, the tariff. But wait, if you think the drug companies just rolled over because they felt guilty, you don't know how this game works. So how does a guy who isn't a doctor and isn't a pharmacist manage to slash the price of Ozempic by 500% overnight? It's not magic, it's leverage. For decades, Big Pharma played a game called price discrimination. They looked at the US and saw a giant ATM. They looked at the rest of the world and saw customers. They told us, hey, we have to charge Americans $1,000 for this shot because R&D is expensive. Meanwhile, they're selling that exact same shot, same vial, same chemical, same factory to a guy in France for $80. The American taxpayer was essentially paying for the world's innovation and then getting kicked in the teeth for the privilege. Enter the most favored nation clause. This is the nuclear option. It's a simple, brutal piece of logic. Whatever the lowest price is in the world, that's our price now. Period. If you sell it to Zurich for 50, you sell it to Des Moines for 50. No more America-only markups. But Big Pharma is a beast. They have more lobbyists in DC than there are members of Congress. They tried to fight it. They tried to say, we'll just stop selling to the US. And that's when the hammer dropped, the tariffs. Trump didn't just ask them to be nice. He told them, if you don't bring those prices down to the global floor, we're going to tax every single thing you try to bring into this country, every pill, every chemical, every automobile related to your parent company. We will make it so expensive for you to do business outside America that you'll have no choice but to build factories inside America. It's the art of the deal on steroids. The result, 16 of the 17 largest pharmaceutical giants didn't just agree, they surrendered. They signed on the dotted line. They realized that paying a 25% or 50% tariff on their global supply chain was a death sentence. Suddenly, magically, they found a way to lower the prices. And here's the kicker the mainstream media won't tell you. By forcing these companies to give America the lowest price, the prices in other countries are actually going to go up. For the first time in history, the rest of the world has to pay their fair share. We aren't their sugar daddy anymore. The world's free ride on the back of the American patient, it's over. But you probably want to see the actual receipts, right? You want to see the numbers that make the CEOs of these companies sweat through their bespoke suits. Let's get into the weeds, because the experts on cable news love to talk about market volatility and long-term projections. You know what the American people care about? They care about the price tag at the CVS drive-thru. And the price tags just got a hell of a lot smaller. Take Ozempic. You've seen the commercials. You've seen the Hollywood stars on it. It's the gold standard for diabetes. And let's be honest, weight loss. The list price, over $1,000 a month. A mortgage payment for a chemical. Under TrumpRx, it's dropping to $350. And if you're on a lower dosage, $199. That's not a discount. That's a 500% price collapse. And it's not just the vanity drugs. Look at insulin. For years, people have been literally dying in this country because they were rationing their insulin. Eli Lilly just got dragged to the table and told 25. That's it. From 200 down to 25 bucks. Why now? Why wasn't this done 10 years ago? Because the people in charge before weren't willing to break the toys. They wanted to play nice with the pharmaceutical CEOs. They wanted to collaborate. This wasn't a collaboration, this was an ultimatum. And here's the one that really gets me, IVF. You have young couples in this country, patriotic, hardworking people who can't start a family because the drugs for one cycle cost more than a used car. Gonal F, a common fertility drug, was $2,000. Now, $168. Think about the human math there. How many thousands of American children, Trump babies, as the president calls them, are going to be born simply because the government finally decided to stop letting drug companies treat fertility like a luxury yacht market? But wait, there's a catch. Or at least that's what the critics want you to think. They'll say, oh, it's just a website with coupons. It's a glorified GoodRx? Wrong. The website is just the delivery system. The real story is who built the website and why the tech elites are suddenly working for the man. Now let's talk about why your government usually sucks at the internet. Remember healthcare. Gov, the billion-dollar glitch that crashed if more than 3 people tried to buy insurance at the same time. That's what happens when you let career bureaucrats and preferred contractors build your tech. It's expensive, it's ugly, and it doesn't work. But look at Trump RX. GovIn, it doesn't look like a government site. It doesn't feel like a DMV form. Why? Because the guys building it aren't from the basement of the Department of Health and Human Services. They brought in Joe Gebbia, the co-founder of Airbnb. Think about that for a second. The guy who disrupted the entire global hotel industry is now the chief design officer of the United States. He's leading something called the National Design Studio. This isn't just about a pretty font or a nice logo. This is about user experience. In the old system, finding a drug discount was a scavenger hunt in a dark room. You had to navigate a maze of prior authorizations, pharmacy benefit managers, PBMs, and Tier 3 copays. It was designed to make you give up and just pay the $400. Gebbia and his team of geniuses, Trump's words, not mine, built an intelligent site. You type in a drug, it auto-completes, it shows you the discount 80% off, 90% off, and it gives you a coupon you can put in your Apple Wallet. Done. It's the Amazonification of government services. And the deep state bureaucrats, they hate it. They hate it because it proves you don't need a 10-year committee and a $500 million budget to build something that actually helps people. You just need a few guys who know how to build a world-class app and a president who's willing to let them break the rules. But here's the real maverick insight. This website isn't just a tool, it's a weapon. By making the prices transparent and the coupons easy to get, they are cutting out the middleman. They are bypassing the PBMs, those shadow companies that sit between the drug maker and your pharmacy, sucking out billions in rebates while you pay full price. Trump RX. Gov is essentially a direct-to-consumer hit on the entire pharmaceutical supply chain. And as Dr. Oz mentioned during the launch, they're even rolling out a weight loss pill, not a shot. A pill. They're projecting America will lose 100 million pounds this year. A healthier America, that's bad news for the healthcare industry's bottom line. And that's exactly the point. We've talked about the leverage, we've talked about the tech, but let's talk about the consequences, not the abstract policy consequences, but the real-world dinner table results that are about to change the literal face of the American population. Because here's the thing that the experts and the policy wonks in DC always seem to forget. Healthcare isn't just about insurance cards. It's about whether or not a family can afford to exist. The Trump baby phenomenon. I want you to really look at that military spouse who stood on that stage. Catherine. She's been in the trenches of infertility for 5 years. 5 years of hope, 5 years of loss, and 5 years of being drained dry by a pharmaceutical industry that treated her desire to have a child like a profit center. When Trump talks about Trump babies, he's not just being colorful, he's highlighting a massive structural shift. By dropping the price of Gonal F, a mandatory drug for IVF, from the highest in the developed world to the lowest, a staggering $168 per pen, we are removing the fertility tax on the American dream. 1 in 3 American families struggles with infertility. Think about that. Millions of people are literally being priced out of parenthood by Big Pharma. Not anymore. If you want to talk about pro-family policy, forget the speeches. Look at the price tags. This is the first time in 30 years a president didn't just talk about supporting families. He actually lowered the cost of creating them, the 100 million pound bet. And then there's the health of the nation itself. Dr. Oz stood up there and made a claim that sounds like science fiction, 100 million pounds lost this year. How? by taking the miracle weight loss drugs, the GLP-1s, and turning them from a $1,300 a month status symbol into a $149 a month pill. This is the ultimate disruption. A healthier America is an America that doesn't need as many chronic care drugs. It's an America that doesn't put as much strain on Medicare and Medicaid. It's the first time the government has actually incentivized health over treatment. The pharmaceutical companies make their money when you're sick and staying sick. This plan makes it affordable for you to get well. That is a fundamental threat to the big pharma business model. And that's why they fought it so hard until the tariffs were put on the table, the most favored reality check. Now, let's be honest. The critics, and they're already out in force, are going to tell you that this is protectionist or that it will stifle innovation. Translation, our donors at the big drug companies are going to make slightly less billions this year. Let them complain. For 30 years, the United States has been the world's sugar daddy for medical research. We paid the high prices so that Switzerland, France, and Germany could have 20 inhalers. Those days are gone. Under the most favored nation principle, we are no longer subsidizing the rest of the planet. If a drug company wants to sell a pill to a guy in London for 10, they better be ready to sell it to a guy in Louisville for 10. If not, they can pay the tariff. They can pay to support the very country they've been fleecing. It's a win-win for the American taxpayer, the final punchline. So here's the bottom line. You've got Robert F. Kennedy Jr. at HHS, a guy who has spent his life fighting corporate capture. You've got Dr. Oz at CMS, a guy who knows exactly how the medical industrial complex hides its costs. And you've got Joe Gebbia from Airbnb, a guy who knows how to build tools that actually work for people. This isn't just a healthcare plan, it's a hostile takeover of a broken system. The elites in Washington are horrified. They're horrified because Trump didn't follow the proper channels. He didn't wait for a bipartisan commission. He didn't ask for permission. He just walked into the room, grabbed the pharmaceutical industry by the throat and said, the free ride is over. America first starts at the pharmacy counter. So go to Trump RX, government, check your meds, get your coupon. And for the first time in your life, when you stand at that pharmacy window and the clerk tells you the price, you might actually find yourself smiling because the math finally works for you. Welcome to the new era of American healthcare. It's cheaper, it's faster, and it's about damn time.